Hey guys, I thought I'd do something a little bit different from the Porsche this week, and I would do a bit of a review of my daily driver, which is a 2008 Audi S5 V8. Don't worry, I'm not trying to become a new car reviewer because there's plenty of those guys out there on YouTube already who do a much better job than I will. But I thought I could come into this with a little bit more perspective, as I've owned this car now for the past 18 months and I've done about 12,000 Ks in it. And I think that I can share a bit of fresh insight. As a everyday, comfortable GT car, I think this is great value for money. Even Mrs. Jeff has said frequently that this is the nicest car we've ever owned. It is really comfortable. It has a beautiful interior. Particularly this particular one has all the carbon fibre accents, which really set it off nicely. And the big kicker and the big benefit of this car is that it's a manual. And that is something that Mrs. Jeff loves, and I particularly love a nice manual that I can just, when I feel like giving it a little bit, it goes, and it goes so nice. The stats of this car: it's a 4.2 litre V8 with 260 kilowatts and 440 newton meters. 440 newton meters of torque. I told you I'm not a car reviewer. And that sends the power through the Quattro full drive system to all four wheels, and it does a 0 to 100 in about 5.1 seconds, which is no slouch. It's to put that into perspective, it's similar to like a 996, 911. It's not a light car. It comes in at 1,630 kilos, and sometimes I think you feel every single kilo, particularly when you're starting to throw it around. It's definitely more of a GT car than a straight out sports car. I've gone on some spirited drives with some 911s in this car, and it definitely is not as nimble as some of those lighter cars, but it holds its own. It corners nice and flat, and it's got plenty of low down torque to pull you out of the corners. The torque is really the best part of this sort of nice throaty German V8. Of course, it's got all the mod cons. Even though it is now an 8-year-old car, it still has all the GPS, Bluetooth, reversing camera, climate control, all the luxury bits and pieces that you would expect in a car like this. Okay, let's go through what are some of the things I love about this car. Well, for starters, it's so comfortable. It's quiet and smooth. It's got a beautiful, slick manual shifter, which the manual sometimes feels a bit rubbery, and this one squeaks. Squeaks a bit when I change gears. But it's still quite direct and solid change. And with the torque of the V8, even at low speeds, I can be doing 50 k's an hour in 6th gear. A few things that I don't particularly love about this car: the start-stop engine button is starting to bubble a little bit and lift. It seems to be a common problem on these. Also, to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of an electric handbrake. How are kids of this next generation going to be able to do handbraking with an electric handbrake? I did have an issue with the passenger door lock that wouldn't unlock when you try to let a passenger into the car. That, in the end, was a relatively simple fix, and I just got in there with some WD-40 spray, and it's fixed it all up. So that was a relatively simple fix. Besides that, I haven't actually had any real issues. I've just about to replace the brakes, which is not a cheap exercise because it's discs and pads. And that's going to cost me about $1,600 just in parts. But besides that, it's been really good, really reliable, and just such a joy to drive. Now, I keep harping on that it's manual, and I actually drove an auto version of this, and the automatic gearbox was a real letdown. It's an old style slush box. It's got the flappy paddles, but it's really slow. It's basically just a Tiptronic, and it wasn't very inspiring at all. I really think if you want one of these, the manual is definitely the way to go. I really think this is the bargain GT car to be had at the moment. Now, looking at the RS5, for starters, doesn't come in manual. You can't get a manual RS5, and we pay a crazy amount of money for luxury European cars in Australia. This car, new, was around $140,000 Australian, which, to put that in perspective, is about $106,000 US, or around 80,000 pounds, possibly even double what it would have been in most other countries, which is crazy. And nowadays, I actually looked the other day, and you can pick one of these up for low 30s here, which is crazy considering the RS5, which was only $40,000 more new, is still about double what you can get an S5 for. So I really think the S5 is a bargain. I absolutely love it. It's great, the daily drive. The clutch pedal's not too heavy. The brakes are maybe a little bit light, which makes heel towing, unless you're really getting into it, it's quite difficult to smoothly heel tow. But the brakes are fantastic. Corners really nice and flat, but ultimately, if a used, slightly loved GT car is on the books, I think the S5 has to be one you have a look at. That's it for another week. Hopefully you enjoyed this, found it a little bit entertaining, a little bit different out of the norm. I will definitely be getting back into the Porsche. If you're enjoying the videos, as always, please like and subscribe to my channel, Home Built by Jeff, and you can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram at the same place. There you go. This guy's driving 25 k's an hour under the speed limit. Come on! He's now driving 45 k's an hour in an 80 zone. Come on. Come on. Drop it back a gear and plant it, and overtaking is a breeze.